Friends and family, we are going to begin the funeral services for Mrs. Cara Shlau. If you have a cell phone, I'd ask you kindly to place it into silent mode or turn it completely off. I'd also like to welcome friends and extended family via live stream. On behalf of the family, thank you for attending. Services will be conducted by Rabbi Karen Kadar of Congregation B'nai Joshua Beth Elohim in Deerfield. She's going to start with the ancient tradition of cutting of the kriya. So if we could have the family please rise.
It's fine.
We do not want to be here right now. And in a significant way, we actually can't believe that we are here right now. And so, as is in Jewish tradition, when we are at a loss, we begin with the Psalms. Esainai el harim me'ayin yavo ezri, I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from God, who is the maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In this moment, this psalm resonates so powerfully for us. Though we are in the valley of the shadows, it ends with, and it is sure that it is goodness and mercy that will pursue me. An optimism that Cara had in her heart that we'll talk about in a bit. We are in the sacred month of Elul, weeks away from the high holidays, a month that is dedicated to acknowledging love with our open hearts. And so much of love is found in the container of memory. In the rising of the sun and its going down, we will remember her. In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening of buds and the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When you are weary and in need of strength, you will remember her. When you are lost and sick at heart, you will remember her. When you have joys you yearn to share, you will remember her. As long as we live, she too shall live, always a part of us, and we will remember her. In the book of Job, it says, Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem, Adonai Mevarach, which means God has given, God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. We are an ancient people, and the Valley of Shadows is a place that we know very well. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us. And this is what the centuries have taught us, that there is strength in faith, and that the good name lives way beyond the grave. And she had a good name. So now we say, Adonai Natan, God, you gave us a loved one who will never be forgotten. For that light within her, all that was good and enduring in her life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Adonai Lakach, and God, you took her away. So we pray for strength. We turn our broken hearts to you and acknowledge the power of faith, saying, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach. Blessed be the name of God, now and forever. We are gathered here from really all over the country. You flew in from places to be here, and online even more are joining us. This is a sacred gathering. This is a powerful mitzvah. This is a holy obligation to be present. Of all the things that you had to do, and you are very busy, and there are many things that you have to do, the family will never forget your presence either in person or online, because at times like these, presence is everything. Cara loved synagogues. She loved liturgy. She loved rabbis, and she loved cantors. It's no wonder that we have here in our community in this moment many of you who are clergy. I know, Raina, you're here just as a cousin, but you here also as a rabbi. We never leave that holy cloak. Rabbi Ari Magolis, so dedicated to your synagogue, and Cantor Rob Jury, incredibly empowered by your sense of prayer and music. And I'll also add Cantor Corey Winter, who was her teacher and her mentor for so many years. And so many other people whose names that I'm not mentioning now, but just know that there is a collective of people who are dedicated professionally to Judaism because she was dedicated. And in a lot of ways, she was one of us. I'd like to begin the words, the eulogizing, with her son speaking. It is an obligation at the side of a grave to say a few kind words, and these two boys, as many of you know, probably all of you, are articulate and sensitive and deep and have felt compelled to stand here at this moment. Are you two coming up together or one at a time? Okay, hold on.
So, for anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Sam, Cara's older son. So, as I look out towards you all, I know that if my mother was here today, that she would be so happy that all of her friends and family are here in one place. We aren't here just to mourn her passing, but to also celebrate the person she was. I don't want to brag, but I think I had the best mother that you could possibly have. She was the kindest, selfless, loving, and joyful person you could know. She was a vibrant soul, one who literally lit up the room whenever she entered. My mother loved meeting and talking to new people, and she was always comfortable in a room where she knew no one. And oh my goodness, she was the strongest person I'll ever know, both mentally and physically. When my little brother Evan and I were younger, she would pick both of us up, each in one arm, and carry us around the house. Mentally, my mother was so strong because she never, ever gave up, even in the end. On her most challenging days, battling whether it was mental illness or cancer or, something else, she always could put on a bright face and hug Evan and me and tell us everything would be all right. And it was all right. Let me tell you all a story of how persevering Cara was. This was maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I was, 10 or 11. It was early January, and I had just been gifted a toy Star Wars drone for Hanukkah. It was a frigid day out, but there was no snow and little wind. So, after school went out, I went to the park near my house to let it fly for the first time. As it was maybe 50 or 60 feet in the air, a goose came out of nowhere and just seemingly snatched it out of midair. I ran home, bawling my eyes out that I just lost my brand new toy and that no one would believe how. My mom answered the door, and I sputtered out my story with tears streaming down my face. In 20-degree weather, my mom immediately decided to put on a coat and go on a potentially fruitless hunt for a small drone, putting my issues in front of hers. We walked for over an hour around numerous nearby neighborhoods, and I wanted to go home because I'd given up hope. But no, my mom wanted to persevere and look for this little drone with blinking lights on it because it was important to me. Looking back, I truly see how much she cared about other people and the little things in other people's lives. We continued on, and eventually we found the drone in a bush about a mile away. I still remember this story because she must have been a lot colder than me and probably had a lot of other things to do. But she made sure I didn't give up, and she was with me every step of the way. My mother was also a talented musician, whether she was singing for the Utah Opera back in 1999, singing in a quartet for the high holidays, playing the piano in our living room, or softly singing the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow to help me fall asleep when I was a lot more little. If I had to describe her singing voice to you, I would say it was like a flower blooming in spring. It was beautiful. She was really, really talented. I'll never forget my mom as a strong, passionate, intelligent, sweet, and hardworking woman. She was truly a great role model and a person to look up to. I want to end my speech here with the last words that I never got a chance to say. Mom, I'm so proud of you, and I love you so very much. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Evan. Cara was my mom and she was amazing. My mom always made me feel better. She gave the best hugs and she was always there for me. My mom loved meeting new people and she was super kind. She was also so strong as she fought her way through cancer and mental illness. My mom was super creative. She invented a lot of fun things. One of them being where it completely wrapped me in blankets, and almost every night she tucked me in doing this. She called it a taco tuck because I was wrapped up like a taco. My mom always helped me. For example, she helped me practice, prepare, and master my bar mitzvah presentation. I am so thankful she was there to attend my bar mitzvah. She was also an awesome singer, and her voice has brightened this world. I want to tell you a story about my mom. This was a couple years before COVID. At the Little League Home Run Derby. I was super excited for the Home Run Derby. My mom came to watch and my dad and brother were busy. When it was my turn to bat, I did not hit 1, not 2, not 3, but 0 home runs. I was dead last. Literally everyone else hit at least 1 home run. I sat in the dugout wanting to cry. When it was done, we went to the car and I just started crying. I was so sad and disappointed in myself. I was crying when my mom hugged me and told me it was going to be okay, and that she was proud of me and that at least I was able to make it into the home run derby. And I was still sad, but I had stopped crying. And I had a fun time. I know my mom would always be there for me, and although she can't be here in person anymore, her words, prayers, advice, and messages will always be with us all. My mom loved helping people and making sure her children helped as many people as we could. We did Feed My Starving Children. Even my mitzvah project was there. Every day after school, she did not ask us what our grades were, but instead, she asked us, "What did you do nice for someone else today?" She also adored her mother. She called her almost every night to talk about her day. In fact, my mom told me one of her favorite things to do was to make her mother laugh. And I know this shows my mom loved making people happier. And her being in my life has made me the happiest kid in the world. Thank you.
I will tell you boys that we're in awe and inspired and humbled by the way your parents have brought you up to be so articulate and so in touch with who you are and your feelings and so honest and not surprised that that's the way it went. Mark and Fanchon had 2 children, Cara and Scott, and I am so sorry for your loss. It is a unique situation to lose a sibling. You went to Maine East, although I have to say, Fanchon, when we were talking about those early days and you said, well, you know, she was a breech baby, which totally described her personality. And I said, everyone's laughing, you see, they agree with you. And I said, how so? And you said, I don't know, argumentative, but also loving. And I would say also defiant in some ways. The 2 of you went to Maine East. She was always in the musicals. She was on the stage. And that year that you described, I really had the visual image when we were talking yesterday where you were in the band in the pit and she was on stage. You were a freshman and she was a singer, a senior, and your paths crossed in that passion of music. You described, Scott, your backyard, and I sat in your backyard just the other day with sprinklers in the yard and 2 of you running in bathing suits in and out of those sprinklers and badminton courts and amazing sleepovers by the big old tree where Fanchon, you said Mark would just stay a little bit farther away just in case to make sure they were okay. And of course they were okay. And even though, Fanchon, you described your relationship in the early days as, well, kind of typical of many mother-daughter relationships where there were a lot of argument, you said over time, it just turned into pure love. You took a cruise together, and that road trip to Las Vegas, you described it so perfectly where you were in a convertible, and when she drove, the top was down and your hat was on, and when you drove, the top was up and your hat was off, and you were laughing and singing to the radio, and all of us who have taken road trips can totally focus on that and remember that and really understand the joy the 2 of you would have laughing and singing. In the morning, I came to your home to tell you of the tragedy that happened. You and I sat on the couch, and there was a couch in front of us, and you just kept saying, she's supposed to be sitting there with me. We were laughing all the time. We were laughing and singing all the time. Where are you? And as you kept pointing to that couch, I really did see the 2 of you And as the boys had said, that was one of her greatest pleasures. And I will add, boys, that you know that this is how a child treats their parent, the way Cara treated Fanchon, wanting to make laughter. That's one of the great lessons that she gave you. And as you know, music was in her spirit. Music was her joyful place. Music was the place of beauty, the place of transcendence for her. Music was the place where she felt free. She studied music ed at Northern Illinois, opera performance at University of Nevada in Las Vegas. She taught for a while. That really wasn't for her. The whole family went to see this place in Las Vegas. Marcia, you were there, and Scott, you were there, and the whole family wanted to check it out. You didn't really say something, but I can imagine that you were making sure that she landed in a place that would be good for her, safe for her, nurturing for her. She was looking for work in the opera world, thinking quite naturally that maybe she wanted to be an opera singer. And of course, she looked at Stuttgart in Germany because that's where opera singers look. And suddenly she got a call from the University of Utah Opera, and based solely on a recording and the recommendation of her professors, she was hired as the understudy. And as fate would have it, the main lead needed to go away to take care of her mother who was ailing. And they said, well, you step in just for 6 months. And then they said, no, you have a job. But Cara looked to her right and looked to her left and saw how it was that opera singers left their children in their beds to go pursue their kids. And even then, in those early days, she chose something else. Boys, you were still a distant dream, but she chose you. There were any opportunities in her life that she could have chosen her career as an opera singer or maybe pursue her career as a cantor. And each time she chose something that would take her away from that homestead that she wanted to create, before you were even born, she chose you. So to do that, she had to choose you, Michael. You had just finished law school. You were set up by mutual friends. Your parents kind of gave you the skinny on her, but actually they were not right with the intel. You had dinner. It was a great conversation. The way that both of you are conversationalists, I can imagine that getting connected in that moment in conversation was incredibly important. But you described the beginning of your relationship like a slow burn. I said, okay, well, what does that mean? You said, sometimes everything starts all hot and heavy and passionate, but we started slowly. And then you used a different metaphor, and you said kind of like a stone slowly going down a hill and gaining momentum. But as I thinking about this, I imagine at one point she kicked that stone down the hill and she said, buddy, I'm 32 years old. I have a dream of these two boys. We're getting married. And so you did. 18 years. And we all know the significance of the word 18. 18 in Judaism is chai. It means life. And you had a life. You built a life together with lots of ups and an enormous amount of downs. And it was a life dedicated. I asked you, Michael, what made it work? And you said, well, I'm between a 4 and a 6 in the emotional world. Kind of steady, a rock, dependable. And I know you said to me, she wanted that stability in her life, and so she chose me. But Cara, as we all know, was more like a 2 to 6. Great highs, great lows, very excitable. And she looked at you and she said, and buddy, you need a little excitement in your life. And you understood that, and you chose her. And that sort of balance between the two of you made it work. Not that it was easy. No marriage is easy. But your marriage was tough. And you made it work, the two of you, committed and dedicated to building a loving home. Boys, your eulogies were so beautiful. I just really, really want to reiterate a couple of the things that you said. She was really a good mother, and I know that because you told me. And you told me in a way that was really convincing. Not that she was a sports fan. She'd rather go upstairs and write poetry about the sports game that was on TV rather than sit with the clan and watch the sports. And you sent me one of the poems that she wrote, and you can ask for it later. But she was a lover of her children, comforted you, and always had somehow an optimism, saying to you, guys, it's going to be all right. She put her own struggles before you. I love that story of running after the drone. And when you would come home from school, she didn't ask about your test scores. She asked every day, almost every day, did you do something good for somebody else? Kindness above all. Somehow she showed you that a positive attitude would win the day and to look at the brighter side of life. And it was not easy for her. She suffered a lot. Her body suffered, broken back, cancer, COVID. Her spirit suffered, anxiety, depression, fear. But she fought those demons, and she did so with an enormous well of dedication and devotion to not only her family, but to her friends, to her greater community, to the many synagogue communities that are represented here. Despite her pain, she was loving, she was kind, she was considerate, she was trustworthy, she was compassionate. Marcia, yesterday you put it so incredibly well. She said, more than a daughter, she was like a dear friend. We were brutally honest with one another, but we never stepped away for long. And she was patient, you said, and devoted, and enormously empathetic. Your love for the family came apparent to me in that midnight call that you gave and called me in the midnight, so concerned with how you're going to help her family, her sister, and did not step away, just as you knew Cara would want you to be center and helping everybody get through this. Wrap yourself up at night like a taco. What a great image. Amazing hugs. What a wonderful feeling. What a gift to feel protected and to feel loved by a mother. We have people here who are musicians and in other circumstances could sing. And Cantor, I know you could have sung this beautifully, and I'm not the person to sing, so I won't. But I did look up the lyrics to Somewhere Over the Rainbow, yet again, though all of us know it by heart. That place where bluebirds fly, that place that you dare to dream, really do come true. I can imagine that's why she sang that to you at night. That was the reality that she lived. And of course, the song ends, oh, bluebirds fly, oh why can't I? And I guess she kind of has. Her soul has taken flight. She's in a place released from her pain. And she's left us very sad. But I will tell you right now what I know she would want me to tell you. And we'll tell you over and over again. It will be okay. You don't recover. You don't move on. But the pain will not always be this intense. And this community of friends and families will be there holding you up. And remember how she knew to hold that paradox of the darkness and the light. Despite the beautiful day and the heat of the sun, we are sitting in darkness right now. And she also held the light. So right now, in this moment, as we go to say goodbye to her and put her into her eternal resting place, I toss you that light that you may not be able to feel. Because as she would want me to say, be kind to somebody. Stay positive. Feel my loving embrace. May her memory be for a blessing. Please rise. Mele Rachamim, Shochem Baromim, Hamatzem Menuchana Nachmona Tachat Kanvei Shchina, Im Kedoshim Toharim, Kazor Harakia Masirim Et Nishmat Cara Shlau Olama, Baal Harachamim Estera Beseter Fa Kolamim, Beseter Kanafav Laolamim, Beitzor Betzor Chaim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachlata V'Tanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkova, V'Nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Cara. She has entered eternity. O God, have mercy. Let her find refuge in your eternal presence. Let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, to which we say, Amen. We offer the Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach leolam ol almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, v'yithalev, v'yithalal, shemei d'kudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. O say shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort to all of us who are bereaved. Go your way, for God has called you. Go your way, and may God be with you. May your righteousness go before you, and the glory of God receive you. To which we say, Amen. In a moment, we'll invite you to participate in the burial. It is part of the obligation. To me, it reminds me of those bedtime rituals that when we put the covers up on our children, just another quarter of an inch, not because they were cold, but because we love them that much. That's what the burial is, because we loved her that much. We place 3 measures of earth at the very least to show our intention. And for the family, it's traditional to offer a private prayer of forgiveness. You imagine yourself saying, "I'm sorry." And her saying, "For what?" And her saying back to you, "I'm sorry." And you saying, "Never mind." But all relationships are human, and therefore we hold the love of and forgiveness together as we participate in this very sacred act. To begin, I'll place earth from the land of Israel onto the grave, and then we'll invite the family to come up. For those of you who would like to participate.
Cinch the tripod.
Excuse me?
Al. Jeremy.
I would like to make mention of the Shiva today. It will be at the Shlau residence, 1142 Weeping Willow Lane in Libertyville, today until 4 p.m. We do ask kindly, if you're not vaccinated, please offer your condolences in another way to the family. Again, that's till 4 o'clock today, 1142 Weeping Willow Lane in Libertyville. This does conclude the service. On behalf of the family, thank you.